Welcome back to the last part of the OFDM lecture. So we don't address the first question, but let's look at the second question. So let's say that before the DFT we have a noise vector n of length n with covariance matrix like this. So we would write that n is a vector which has a complex Gaussian distribution, zero mean, variance, n naught times an identity matrix. The noise after the DFT is given by q times n, so that's another vector of length n. Now the mean, the expectation of w, is q times the expectation of n. So this is 0, so the noise is still zero mean. So now we can look at the covariance. So this is the definition of the covariance under zero mean noise. We plug in what is w, then we get this expression. We now move out everything that is deterministic, so q and q Hermitian can be moved out. Then we have this expression. We plug in what is the covariance of the noise. This is given by n naught times the identity matrix. Now the identity matrix, we can remove it, the n naught we can bring to the front, and then we make use that q Hermitian is also an identity matrix, so we obtain n naught times the identity matrix. So that means that the noise after DFT still white. So, and then this implies that we can do per subcarrier maximum likelihood. So again, if the noise was not white, we could not do per subcarrier maximum likelihood. We have to consider all the subcarriers together. And the last example was when we're sending all ones, so a vector of all ones, and then you will see that if you apply the DFT, you get a vector that looks like this. Okay, and you should expect this because when you send something in one domain, so let's call one domain the frequency domain flat, then it should be something very peaky in the other domain. And this will be important in a little bit. Now we do another example. Here you should design your own OFDM system with a certain number of requirements. So you're given a channel which has a delay spread of 10 microseconds. You have a total signal bandwidth of 2 megahertz available. You can use 16 QAM, and your channel coherence time is 20 milliseconds. The first question relates to when you use single carrier transmission. So you just send very short pulses, so with this 2 megahertz bandwidth. And the question is, how much intersignal interference would you have? What is the data rate of your transmission, and what is the spectral efficiency? That's just the rate over the bandwidth. Now, if you design an OFDM system, how should you design it to operate over this channel? So you should take into account the delay spread and the coherence time. What will then be the data rate and the spectral efficiency? And finally, how would your design change if you reduce the coherence time from 20 milliseconds to 2 milliseconds? So as always, please pause the video and then you can get back to the solution. So then the solution turns out to be as follows. We have 20 megahertz how much was it? 2 megahertz bandwidth. Is the bandwidth, so that means each symbol slot will be 500 milliseconds or 0.5 microseconds. The delay spread is 10 microseconds, so that means we stretch out over 20 symbols, so 10 microseconds over 0.5 microseconds is 20. So that means that if we do equalization, the complexity will probably be very high. The data rate turns out to be 8 megabit per second because we use 16 QAM, so 2 megahertz bandwidth. And then the spectral efficiency is then this divided by the bandwidth. So this gives us 4 bits per second per hertz. If we use OFDM with a coherence time of 20 milliseconds, then we will have, let's see, since we have 20 symbols of intersignal interference, we should have a cyclic prefix of length 20, so of 10 microseconds. Now, then to find n, the number of subcarriers, we need to make sure that the channel during the whole OFDM symbol duration is constant. Okay, so we're sending n plus l complex numbers. Each of them takes a duration of 0.5 microseconds, and this should be much less than 2 milliseconds. Here I choose 2 milliseconds because I interpret the coherence time as the time for the channel to decorrelate. Then you can solve for n, and then you find that n should be below 4,000. So the largest power of 2 is then 2048. So overall we find L is 20 and n is 2048. Now to look at the rate, we look at the number of bits that we send during each OFDM symbol. So we send, of course, the same number of bits as before, but we send them a little bit slower because we need to insert the cyclic prefix. So this means that our rate is slightly reduced. And of course, then our spectral efficiency is also a little bit reduced. In the last part, if the coherence time is reduced to 2 milliseconds, then instead of here 2 milliseconds, I should have 200 microseconds. So if I divide things by 10 here, I should have n 10 times smaller, so less than 400. So 256 would be a reasonable number. Again, we can compute the rate and spectral efficiency, and again, you see that you lose a little bit more. And this is because now the cyclic prefix will become relatively longer compared to n, right? So you lose more rate. This is a picture here showing the spectrum of an OFDM system, and I just want to show this picture to highlight that the spectrum is not very trivial as you may think. So this is a system with 16 subcarriers, so n is equal to 16. And I will just highlight, for instance, the subcarrier with index 0. So this shows shown here. And it has some kind of side lobes. And you see that all of these subcarriers are kind of overlapping with each other. Here I've chosen a pulse with a roll-off. And then because of that, you will see that a certain subcarrier, like subcarrier 8, appears here and also here. So you should be careful when you interpret the spectrum of an OFDM signal. It is not maybe exactly what you would think. Naively, you would probably say that subcarrier 0 is in the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so it's not exactly like that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, here's 7, okay. So the situation is slightly different. If you want to know more about this, just come and ask me and I can provide more details. So some additional properties. So we've seen already that to design an OFDM symbol system for a given symbol duration. So this here is 1 over the bandwidth. Maybe I go back a little bit. Yeah, so this whole thing here would be then the total bandwidth, right? Bandwidth, which is B, which is 1 over TS. So it is true that in OFDM, I have a certain total bandwidth B, and I'm creating smaller channels, each with a bandwidth approximately B over N, right? But they're not spread out as nicely as you would think. Instead, they have a more complicated behavior. Oh, what happened here? Sorry. All right, so we go back here. The cyclic prefix must be long enough. Right, so longer is better, but on the other hand, they will have an overhead, so then shorter is better. So you need to make sure that the cyclic prefix is just long enough for the maximum delay spread, but not too long. And if it is long, you make sure that n becomes long to reduce this overhead. On the other hand, the channel should be constant within the OFDM symbol duration, so m cannot be too long. So the total OFDM symbol duration should be much shorter than the coherence time. Easy to combine with adaptive loading using water filling, because we've created parallel channels that are not interfering, so you can each assign their own power and own modulation format. There are some challenges. So one is that it's a bit harder to synchronize than single carrier transmission, because residual synchronization errors lead to inter-carrier interference. And the other issue is that you have a high PAPR. So we've seen already that when we send a constant sequence of symbols, then in the time domain, this leads to a large peak. So in more general terms, if you look over time at the power of a single carrier transmission, there will be some fluctuations, but in OFDM, there will be enormous fluctuations, basically on the order of 1 over n. So with a large number of subcarriers, you can have enormous peaks in the transmit power. And this is bad from the point of view of the power amplifier efficiency, PA efficiency. right? So that means that you use more power than you really need to operate in a linear regime. And this has somehow led that, for instance, in 4G, OFDM is not used at the user side. So your phone is not sending really standard OFDM just because of this issue. So this brings us to the end of this lecture. Again, a quite long lecture on OFDM. So you've seen why is OFDM important, or why is multi-carrier modulation important, benefits and drawback of analog multi-carrier. Then we spent a lot of time on digital multi-carrier using DFTs, diagonalization of circulant matrices, the design of OFDM systems, the overhead due to cyclic prefix insertion, and also some of the drawbacks of OFDM. So this ends this lecture, and then I will see you soon for the multi-user lecture.